Hello and welcome to Onesies, the podcast of one season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew.
My name's Emily.
And this is our last episode of season 2, where we are discussing the final 2 asterisks episodes of Freaks and Geeks. They are
Dead Dogs and Gym Teachers, followed by Noshing and Moshing.
And now these did not air at the end of the series. They were supposed to air in between, but for some reason, they chose not to show them, which is a bad choice.
Agreed.
Depending, I guess, on what they wanted to do with the series. And so that's sort of disappointing. But anyway, let's get started. What are your 3 things about Dead Dogs?
Boy. So I'm going to steal mine. So first I'm going to go Rich Little. Then I'm going to go the Bill scene. And then I'm going to go Lindsay and Kim. And then I drew a little heart.
Okay. I am going to go. Okay. All right. I am going to go the hot chick from Fame. Where the hell did it go? Smack some respect into Bill Murray.
Oh, yeah.
Broken clocks right twice a day. And finally, you shouldn't use your real name writing that stuff.
Okay. So Dead Dogs and Gym Teachers is a little backstory here. The episode I've been talking about from pretty much day one of recording this podcast, because it's got, in my opinion, the best comedic scene in all of television. And possibly even the best scene in any kind of television, like even dramatic scene, because I find it very dramatic personally. And it's what I think of when I think of Freaks and Geeks is this specific scene. So Dead Dogs and Gym Teachers, do you want to start? I think we start in the Weir kitchen.
Yes. So the backdrop to this episode is that Lindsay wants to go see The Who. This figures into the Dead Dog storyline. Nice of them to split it like that for us. But Dad does not want her to go see The Who because they are a bunch of stoners or something. And so he's complaining about some popular music and everybody's acting like Dad's out of it. Except Sam is sort of helping against Lindsay, which is pissing her off.
And it's funny when he says, if I'm not allowed to see Kentucky Fried Movie ever, you're not allowed to go to the Who. I thought that was funny. So I don't know when Kentucky Fried Movie came out, but that sounds about right.
Wasn't that directed by manslaughterer John Landis? Anyway, so that first scene resolves with Dad agreeing to listen to a Who album to decide if Lindsay can go to the concert.
And in that scene, also, they're talking about other concerts they went to, and they went to see Rich Little. And Sam does an impression of Rich Little, which is funny. I just watched one of those old roasts. Rich Little was roasting Frank Sinatra, I think. And all he was doing was impressions. It was so hacky and dumb. Maybe he invented that particular type of hack, but God, it was annoying. So I can imagine Lindsay's disappointment with them bringing Rich Little into the matter. I will say about The Who, so far in the series, this is the best music.
I'm going to talk at length,
okay,
probably about that. But okay. Yeah, I think this episode found the formula that could have made for a great show. They did not keep it up, but I guess there's only so much Who and Judd Apatow directing we can do.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that later.
So just to set it up throughout, because this storyline is Lindsay wanting to go to see The Who, they use Who music throughout the episode, and I'm not a huge fan, but it's better than the other stuff. Then we cut to the high school gymnasium where the boys are playing basketball. Do you think they have, obviously they didn't have co-ed gym. I don't remember not having co-ed gym, but anyway, I just realized that whenever we cut to a gym scene, it's all boys. Maybe there's a female gym teacher, which we've met before, but anyway, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
There's a basketball scene and Bill has a clean break, goes for a layup and misses terribly. And his classmates make fun of him. And Coach Fredericks looks caringly disappointed when Bill doesn't make it. That was sad, but it was funny watching Martin Starr kind of lankily run down the court, all arms and legs. That was kind of funny. Setting up for his humiliation. And then I have cafeteria scene, but I don't remember.
So this is where they're talking about the Who again, and something about Nick talks about how he went to Indianapolis to see them, I think. And Ken and Daniel are there.
It sets up this notion that Nick is learning how to play the guitar because we're going backwards in time and he's writing a song for Lindsay.
Yes.
But there's a funny scene. Yeah, there's a funny scene where he's playing Michael Row the Boat Ashore really badly in the cafeteria and his friends join in. I thought that was kind of cute and funny.
This is also where we establish that Daniel's got a school bus they're going to take to the Who.
Oh, right. Magic bus.
This is back when they were still stoners. It's before they got some Jesus. So it's a few episodes before the end. But
although they don't ever get stoned, or I mean, they still seem like losers, but I mean, not losers, but they still seem like burnouts, but you don't actually see them smoking. But they talk about magic.
Rarely. Did we ever see them smoking except for when it was portrayed as a negative?
No.
Right. So, but yes, and that's when we soon get our scene about Coco, the hot chick from Fame.
Yes.
Yeah, she was raped. That's
cool.
That's the thing of her.
But Andrew, she shows her tits
in her rape scene. She is raped.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. It's fucking bad. Yeah. It's
fuck.
Bad. Right. So like.
Wow.
Anyway.
I didn't realize how bad. Wow. Okay.
Yes. She's then raped.
Well then.
And all of her dreams are dashed and ruined at that point of her, nudity and rape. So continuing.
Wow.
Let's turn it around here.
Let's turn it around.
Last negative.
Okay. So we cut to Bill. Now, remember, I'm setting this up. I'm going to be very dramatic about this because this is my scene. We've just seen Bill be kind of humiliated at basketball, made fun of by his friends. He comes home and there's the Who again. I think the One is playing in the background and it starts off very kind of slow about how he's a loser and da-da-da-da. And Bill is clearly home after school alone. He makes himself a grilled cheese sandwich. It seems kind of like sad at first. He sits down. Does he have a glass of milk or something and his sandwich with a TV tray? And he turns on the TV. Suddenly the music changes and he's watching Gary Shandling do Gary Shandling. Again, Judd Apatow's an acolyte, right, of Shandling. So, and it's just with the music over, eating this sandwich with his goofy mouth, his goofy teeth, and he's laughing hysterically with food practically falling out of his mouth. Now, I know this sounds disgusting, listener, but it is the greatest cinematic moment of this show for sure, but I think in television history. Maybe Twin Peaks has done something, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. So this is like the greatest scene ever. Watching Bill go from this like pathetic character to be completely owning who he is and his life. And watching Gary Shandling wear fake teeth was pretty fun. I love Gary Shandling too. So I appreciated that. But then his mom comes in. Hey, little man, she says. She's so sweet. I love her. And she's actually got some great lines in this too, where she's talking about she's got a new friend who's coming over for dinner. Oh, no. What does she say? Something like, oh, I only made $18 in tips today. How can anybody live off of that? And Bill says, what, are you going to start dancing again?
Yeah. And she says, nobody wants to see an old broad dancing.
Yeah. And she kind of like swishes around.
We know Neil sure would. Yeah.
She kind of swishes around. She's so cute. She's really great. She's so great. I love her. I've never seen her before in anything, and I love her. And then she also, I think, to kind of put the nail in the coffin on this, like, she's a younger mom, which she doesn't look much younger, but whatever, that doesn't matter. Bill asks her about her new friend and if it's Vic Schreiber, and she goes, Vic Schreiber, ew, gross. So funny and so cute. I love that they have that kind of relationship that they can talk like that.
So this is post that episode, obviously, where we have established that the boys know that Neil's dad's a playa.
A playa. But also, seemingly by her response, she understands that as well. She doesn't say, like, he's married. She's like, ew, gross.
Yeah. So that's one of those scenes, the Bill watching the Gary Shandling scene. It's very much one of those scenes where you're like, oh, so Judd Apatow can do this and chooses not to. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what this entire episode and actually the next one is like. Oh, they could do this the whole time and they chose not to.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like it makes it it's not quite as bad as how with Seth MacFarlane, the Orville is very the Orville tackles a lot of social issues that make it obvious that Seth MacFarlane knows that the jokes he tells on his other shows hurt people and that that's bad. Yeah. So it's very like conflicted in that way. This is just like, oh, you guys fucking, 10th it the rest of your show and you didn't even air your best episodes. That's fucked up. And I have some conspiracy theories that we'll talk about next episode about why they didn't air these 3 episodes. But it's an amazing scene.
It's incredible.
Like, why?
It's incredible. And, when I have in the past talked about loving the show, I honestly think I'm thinking of that scene. Like, I just can't get it out of my head. I love it so much. It's so good. And it sounds disgusting. Again, he's eating with his mouth open and laughing really loudly with food in his mouth. It's kind of gross, but it's just so brilliant. And it's just like, he's comfortable with himself. Of course, he's home alone. Also, I like imagining that they just kind of let him run. Like, they let him turn on the TV. They filmed him for an hour doing just that. And and then they cut it into this beautiful little, like, what is it? A 90-second scene? Like, it's so short. But it's so wonderful. And then the next thing I have is Lindsay and Kim, but I don't exactly even remember. Oh, they're leaving Lindsay's house to go somewhere.
So they're going somewhere. This also, they talk about Stevie Nicks and how she's a witch.
Yes.
And that Kim could become a witch and cast spells on Daniel whenever he's out of line.
Yeah.
And then I think Lindsay or somebody says voodoo's serious. And I was just like, okay.
Yeah. No, but it leads up to this great thing where Busy Phillips or Kim says, I'm really serious. Like, like, I need to learn how to do magic. And it's so funny and so cute. The two of them together in that scene. And actually in the next episode too, it's now that we've seen the episode where we understand where Kim is coming from and she's nicer to Lindsay. They have a really great chemistry, the two of them together. And I'm on board with your road trip. Road trip.
Especially after this episode.
After this one.
Also, she has her car.
Oh, yes.
So the car subplot somehow resolved off screen that she gets to keep her car.
Yeah.
From last episode, which would have been 5 or 6 episodes before in the actual run.
Right.
If not more. But then they hit something and Kim's not going to turn around for a dead squirrel. Okay. So then we cut to Coach Biff at dinner with Bill. And things.
Oh yeah, we forgot to mention that the new friend that's coming over is the gym teacher.
Did we?
We completely forgot to mention that.
We forgot. Yes, that's the reveal. It's his coach. After something at school, they got talking, and they've been dating for a while now.
He wanted to make sure it was serious before getting Bill upset that she's dating the gym teacher.
And that's why Coach Biff was conflicted during the basketball game.
Yeah.
Is because he's got a secret from Bill. So also, we'll just point this out, or I'll just point this out. Not having Coach Biff around for the end of the show. Yep.
Sucked.
Somebody's gotta, I'm not really feeling the feed, if you know what I'm saying. Not feeling the feed. Anyway, they're at dinner and they're talking about movies because Bill likes movies. So Coach Biff, Mom's like, well, Coach Biff, tell him your favorite movie. Best movie of all time? Greatest movie of all time?
Rocky
2.
2. Not 1, 2.
Much better than the first one. Did you see how ripped Carl Weathers was in that? So Bill then quietly says that he likes stripes. And this is when Coach Biff says somebody should smack some respect into Bill Murray.
He's a smart ass. Yeah.
I mean, okay. In addition to being a smartass, he was an abusive father and husband for quite a long time. And now he just abuses people on his film sets and he's a piece of shit, but nobody cares because he's Bill Murray. So Coach Biff isn't exactly wrong but he's wrong for why.
For the wrong reasons.
Wrong reason. And so Bill actually pushes back and talks about how he's the funniest man on the planet, which...
at the time, I would say
comedy at the time. Yeah. I mean, who's your other choice? Fucking Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd. No, you're fine. John Belushi, maybe?
Was he dead? Was he dead by then? I don't know.
No, 80. He wasn't dead.
Oh, my favorite Andy Kindler joke. Who died and made Jim Belushi a star?
John Belushi. Yeah. What's up? Okay, so
you're not supposed to answer.
Oh, you're not? Because I would have done the punchline. Because that's even.
Well, that's not.
Because when people start giggling, they do like John died. That's who made it, and then everybody stops laughing. That's funny. You don't know what humor is.
Apparently not.
Would you like to see my ventriloquist dummy?
It's not. It's a figure. Only a dummy calls it a dummy.
Okay, so then they get into talking about football or basketball.
Do they? Oh yeah. About Bill joining the basketball team. Oh, if you just put your mind to it. Oh.
Mom's encouraging that, and Coach Biff asks if he could use the restroom.
No, Mom says, "I'm going to go use the restroom."
Oh, sorry.
Yes,
and then Bill says, "We don't have a restroom. We have a toilet."
And makes direct eye contact with Coach Frederick. It's so funny.
So good. Okay, so next day at school, Lindsay and Kim see an upset Millie, and they ask her what's wrong. And Millie says, Goliath's dead, to which Lindsay gets immediately upset, and Kim is indifferent until it is explained that it is a dog who was run over on the street between their houses. So they didn't run over a squirrel. They ran over Millie's dog.
And the realization on their faces when she says that, and they realize that they hit her dog is beautiful. It's beautiful. So,
exquisite.
Lindsay is being supportive and giving Millie a hug when she says it. And you see Lindsay's face change. And Busy is in the back with kind of a snooty look on her face. And her face expression changes even more. And it's like, oh my God, this is so good. These people are really good.
Yep. Why would we air the episodes with the good acting? What the fuck? And the women having things to do.
Well, besides talk about boys. Who knew?
Yeah. Okay, so they freak out about it, and then they go talk to the freaks. And is it Ken who talks about how much dogs suck?
Yes, it is Ken. But there's also this brilliant thing, and he's like, it's not like it was a human, it was just a dog. And Kim says, it's even worse. I love dogs. Meaning she doesn't love people.
Kim's got a great arc about the dead dog. But then let's see here.
I also have written down in quotation marks, Oh yeah, it was Neil who said it. MASH is not funny. I don't know where that comes up, but just in passing. So they don't like MASH, which is I think is weird. For comedy guys in the 80s, people didn't like MASH?
Not kids who liked Kentucky, who wanted to see Kentucky Fried Movie.
Fair
not proto-rapists like Neil, because MASH would be about how that event, by that time, it was about how that was wrong.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
Yeah. So, and then Biff sees him in the hall and says something, and that's the line. Somebody talks about how Biff ate your mom's pot roast.
So I was kind of struck by that scene because I feel like while Coach Frederick is trying to like establish a relationship with Bill, a more friendly relationship, I don't think in school is in front of his friends is the most appropriate place for
Incredibly inappropriate.
I thought it was so weird.
Incredibly inappropriate.
But it moves the plot along, I guess. Yes. You know?
and it sets up the fucking badass next scene with them. So
yeah.
Okay, so then we get Millie and Kim in class, and this is the scene where Kim talks about how she had an epileptic dog and her parents put it down and she didn't get to say goodbye, so she knows what Millie's going through. And now Millie is bonding with Kim, and we are seeing a side of Kim that we've never seen before, because outside of her family troubles, the only real character motivation she's had is her relationship with Daniel.
Yeah.
Until the finale, when we introduce that she wants to get out of town. But so they have that scene, and Kim invites Millie somewhere, or Millie invites Kim somewhere?
Millie invites Kim to the funeral.
Is this the dog funeral?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is where Millie gets the dog invite, the funeral invite. But then we cut to gym class, where it's Sam and Neil.
Oh, yeah. This is a good one, too.
And they're talking about his mom and Coach Biff. And then Neil drops well, Bill's mom's hot. And
Sam's like, ew, you fucking perv. Stop it. That's your friend's mom. And for some reason, Bill isn't sitting with them in gym class. He's sitting in the back with Gordon.
Because it's not going to work otherwise.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
So what then happens is, because you got Alan in between them too.
Yeah.
Then you've got Coach Biff talking about how he's going to build up these young men. And it's very much like he's trying to bring out the athleticism in everyone, but Bill in particular. But
he doesn't actually say Bill.
He doesn't actually say Bill, but he's trying to involve Bill in being a jock. And this is actually what I thought your favorite scene was, because it was so funny.
It is very funny.
The other one is like, it's funny, but it's also just like a staggering work of, filmic genius, right?
Yes.
This is just pure
funny.
Martin Star funny.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't run, Mr. Fredericks. I've got better things to do. I don't know. I want to pick my nose and eat it. That's a better thing to do.
Go to the bathroom. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to do this. And Coach Biff tries to hold his ground. Like, no, I'm the teacher here. You're in my class. And I forget what Bill says. He's like, I'm not going to do it. And he gets up and he's at the top of the bleachers, and he walks down, walks away, says, what are you going to do? Call my mom?
What's up?
And in the meantime, Alan is sitting there like, oh, damn, get him, Coach Fredericks, and gets yelled at by Coach Fredericks for having a smart mouth.
And then at the end, Alan's observation is Haverchuck's the king.
Yeah.
Also, Alan should have been back for the fucking finale.
Yeah.
And we could have had something like this. Why didn't Alan also play D&D with them? Like,
it could have just been like a sneaky thing where he comes in to play D&D, but he doesn't tell his other friends about it. So he's not going to get shit for playing with the dorks, and it could have just been this sneaky little thing that he does. And he gets along with them and
he sees Daniel there. So it's like, it can be a cool thing. And it's like, it parallels Sam's, like, doesn't want to be a geek thing. It wouldn't have been hard. It would not have been hard.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we cut to the dog funeral, which is just, the girls bonding over the dead dog. There are no leashes in heaven. And Lindsay tells a story about the dog humping her mom or dad's boots or something, and that sort of thing. So then we cut to breakfast at Bill's house.
Yes.
Coach Biff coming out in his boxers and having some breakfast with his student.
Ugh, that was so uncomfortable.
And Bill gets up and walks off. And then back at school, Kim and Millie are talking to Lindsay. They're going to go to the record store and buy some Who albums, and Millie's going to go to the concert because she gets to blow everything off now because she's in mourning and her parents are letting them do that.
Yeah.
And is that where... No. Okay, so Lindsay's concerned about Kim hanging out with Millie, or Millie hanging out with Kim, and sort of talks about it.
Yeah.
But it's going to come back more in a bit.
Lindsay's mostly concerned when Kim encourages Millie to wear her big coat with the pockets
to the record store.
Yeah.
Yes. And so then we cut to the Weir parents listening to The Who, following up on that. It took them days. Mom likes The Who. Dad's convinced it's all about sex. It might be all about sex.
It's all about sex.
My note is, Dad's one hell of a prude for having sex with a 13-year-old Korean girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they even call him a prude later. And I'm like, okay. But it's the first and maybe only time in the show that the losing the virginity, not episode that everybody sort of forgot about, where we see Mom having a very different reaction to something than Dad.
Yeah.
So it was like a good scene for Mom, except it's just that Canada Joe's a dipstick. So then we cut to Kim and Lindsay, where Lindsay finds Kim copying homework and is surprised at this behavior, and then talks about how, maybe Millie's not right to hang out with us. And then Kim lets Lindsay know that she knows that she keeps the freaks around just to have a place to run to from her good friends.
No, it's the opposite. She keeps Millie around to run away from her bad friends.
Gotcha. Backwards.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes. So Kim's very aware of this sort of very background relationship on the show.
Yeah.
So Mom and Biff are hanging out trying to figure out how he can bond with Bill. And she suggests they go to Go-Kart City because she's not going to take it. Biff's response is, I love Go-Kart City. And it's just kind of like, okay, like...
Yeah, I love that place. I go all the time. Okay, a grown adult man.
That's not weird.
With no children, presumably?
No. So the geeks are over at Bill's at this point, I believe. What's so unfortunate about this show is that for the geeks, we followed Sam, who was not at all interesting. Meanwhile, next episode we'll cover Neil. He's less interesting than Bill because this episode with Bill sort of like really digs into it. But like, it's just what could have been with this show is anyway. So they're hanging out. My notes for this scene are Neil sucks, CEO of his school. Is that him saying that Biff's not good because he's a school teacher and that he's not a CEO? So Neil's a little fucking okay. So Neil sucks. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And here's where Bill has his "my mom really likes him" scene. So like, this sucks for me. Like, that dude sucks. My mom likes him, and I want her to be happy. And Sam's like, well, maybe he's not such a bad guy. Then Biff knocks. And he's like, hey, Bill, you want to go to Go-Kart City? And Bill's not, never should have just started calling him Biff.
I know. That's you. That's on you.
Oh.
Frederick.
Okay. Frederick.
Or
that's
Ben.
a lot.
Or Ben.
Who's Ben? Who's Ben? Okay. So Bill is not particularly impressed with the invite, but Neil accepts and says, we'd love to go. To which Biff is like, we? And so, yes, it's going to be the 4 men.
So it's hard for me to know whether or not Neil is, well, I know why Neil is doing it. Neil's doing it, and he says so expressly because no one else is going to take us.
Yeah.
But it also could have been an attempt for Neil to sort of help Bill come to this acceptance. Like, this guy's going to be around. He's doing, I know you're giving me a weird look. It could have been an attempt for Neil to be a good friend, but it's not. It's Neil going, yeah, I want to go and nobody else is going to take us. So let's take advantage of this situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sam could have been doing that. Not Neil. Sorry to ruin it for you.
I know.
Neil's going to be transactional his whole life. Okay. So then we get to the parents telling Lindsay she can't go because of the Who music. Mom's not like on board with Canada Joe's decision here, but she's not fighting back against it. But then Lindsay drops the bomb. Millie's going. I want to be there to make sure Millie's okay.
Which is also a lie. She wants to go because she wants to go. Right.
So that works.
So mom takes that information and convinces Joe Flaherty that it's okay to let their daughter go because Lindsay's such a good girl taking care of her friends.
And then we have the geeks get on the way to Go-Kart City. Coach Biff has gone out of his way to go buy them gag stuff from the joke store.
Yeah.
And Bill, Sam and Neil are thrilled-ish. Bill is not. You can't buy Bill with joke store
plastic poo.
Right.
The thing that stood out for me, and it's actually the last note I have about this episode, but I still have a lot to say, is Neil gets some fake vomit. And he's like, oh, this is so cool. And kind of as an aside, he says, oh, this one looks like pizza. I don't think I have it yet. Like he collects joke vomit that looks like different foods. I thought that was really funny. I thought that was a funny little thing. And Sam is playing with his gag, which is like $1 on like a snap string. So you can give somebody $1 and when they go to grab it, you can pull it back. I thought that was really funny. And he keeps trying to play with it. And Bill's not interested.
Is that called a Joe Biden? Okay. And you're leaving that in. Fucking asshole. Okay. Not you. Joe Biden. Anyway. So then we cut to one of those scenes that makes it seem like at least somebody understood Nick's point in this show. Nick is singing a song that he wrote for Lindsay to Ken. The song is called, or some
referred
to as Lady L and the Green Earth. That's not the title. I just wrote that down at some point.
Lady L, I think.
Lady L.
And I tell you, like, I feel cringing inside just saying that.
Lady L and the green army coat. So at this point in the so this is another fucking thing with the show. How did their writers' room, how dysfunctional was their writers' room? Did they not have a fucking whiteboard where they plotted out the 18 episodes or something? So at this point in the regular show, Nick and Lindsay have been broken up for 5 episodes or something, right? Like, if there was going to be a recurring plot about her pining for her, like they needed to be present, right?
Yeah.
So he is still pining for her, and he has written her a song. Now, let's not forget, he wrote The Girl He Stalked a bunch of poems. Lindsay played a song for, so at this point, he can now write her a song because Nick is the worst written character on this show, which is saying something. So it gets to the end of him singing to Ken. Seth Rogen is horrified. And he's like, man, he's like, was it good? And he's like, no, man, that was terrible. It's like, you shouldn't be using your real name writing that stuff. So
And I think it's the perfect use of Seth Rogen and his sort of super sarcastic humor. Like him being the one reacting to it rather than Daniel or anybody. It's like perfect.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
So, well, especially considering what we find out about Daniel next episode just makes Nick's friendship with him seem like Nick is kind of, what's that term? It's not trauma tourism, but he's sort of, there's an aspect to their friendship that isn't explored that makes Nick seem like he's exploiting Daniel.
Yeah.
Well,
Ken also, we established, we didn't talk about it in the podcast, that his family's wealthy as well. He was raised by nannies and stuff. So there is sort of an odd thing. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get to that with the next one. Yeah. But then we've got to go to Go-Kart City.
Yes.
So, okay. Go-Kart City is the 4 men doing their go-karting. Everybody's having a great time. But then Biff gets really competitive. That's a nice way of putting it. And he runs Bill off the track, to which the other two boys think is hilarious. And
well, because he's spun out, and it's not like it's funny, like they're laughing at him. It's just like, whoa, that was so cool. Like, ugh.
Bill does not think it is funny.
No.
Bill does not think winning is more important than feelings.
Yeah.
Because Bill is not a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So then we cut to the Who bus, where we finally meet Millie's mom, which I was impressed by. But Millie has shown up. Oh God, there's a bunch of people around.
The guy who was selling drugs in the one episode.
Yeah, and he thinks Millie's hot. Ugh. And Lindsay's grossed out.
Rightly so.
Daniel's cooking out. He's making Who dogs. Like, it's this whole different side. It adds so much more sort of, it expands the freaks outside of school. Like,
yeah.
Hey, maybe, we should have
done this in the past,
Yeah.
I think there was even a reference to, and it has been done in the past, but in this episode, when they hit the dog and Kim is like, oh no, Daniel's been working on my car. It's like shocks or something. Like she's trying to explain it away. Yeah. And, so Daniel knows how to work on fucking cars, and like why this.
Remember the bumper?
Hasn't been explored.
Remember the bumper?
The bumper. Yeah.
Yeah. So Freaks and Geeks, I think the best thing to do for it would be for them to get all the footage and to have somebody recut it with keeping the good stuff. And yeah, because I bet you could. Because, I mean, these 2 episodes, you just, cut out Cindy, basically, and you're fine. Okay, so Millie's mom shows up, and she's kind of done letting Millie do whatever she wants. Millie's can't break bad anymore. And Millie gets to have like a showdown where she tells mom it's not like she's having sex in the parking lot and dropping acid. And it's like, I imagine that if we had watched these in order, I would have been very upset at the Millie, the Christian girl episode.
Yeah.
Because it's reductive to the character that is established in this episode. Like we finally have Millie getting an arc. Mm-hmm. We finally have like this texture to all the friendships, all this shit. So then we go to so
it stays there, doesn't it?
It stays there.
Lindsay sits down and
not yet, because we've got the car scene.
Okay.
Where Biff comes into the car to sit down with Bill.
Oh, right.
And Biff, man apologizes and is like, oh, I'm sorry. Hey, man, the track was wet. I couldn't do anything about it. And Bill... It
actually seems kind of sincere, though. I feel like I read it differently. I read it like he was being competitive, but it was an accident. And that's how I read it.
I mean, that might be how it was intended, but that's not reality. Like...
I give people way too much credit.
Stop giving white men credit. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, stop it.
I'm so used to it. Been doing it my whole fucking life.
And where did that get us?
Yeah, not anywhere great.
And then, but there's
therapy.
At best. There's this great moment where Biff is like, dude, I really care about your mom. And I think he might even say, I love your mom.
Yeah, he did.
Which means he should have been in the fucking finale with the family going there.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And to which Bill's response is, what do you know about my mom's hard time? And Biff's like, well, she's, told me about
only
it. Only
what she's told me. Yeah.
And it's like, Bill then realized, it's this whole thing where Bill is realizing that like his mom's happiness matters to him a lot, and it's complicated and it's hard. And like, we're getting to watch this happen done really well.
Really well. I mean, it's like his mom says, we've been seeing each other. It's getting serious, but it's taking these moments that he's having with Fredericks for him to actually realize it. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to have it intellectually understood, and it's another thing to actually feel it. And so we're watching this through all of these scenes with them together, and it's so beautiful and it's so wonderful. But it's also great acting from Bill, who, as Biff is approaching the car, is like wiping tears away. Mm-hmm. He's crying, trying not to show that he's crying because he's afraid that the dumb jock is going to tease him about it.
Exactly.
It's so good. It's such a good scene. Another one.
So good. So then we cut to Nick and Lindsay.
Oh boy.
So
this was also a great scene.
Nick is going to sing his song. He's going to sing Lady L her song. Tell her about that green army coat. Okay, so the first scene, they make a joke about how the Who destroys their own guitars.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So in this scene, Ken grabs the guitar from Nick. And
he's 4 chords in, and he just destroys this guitar. And he's like coming up with some conceit, like he's awkwardly holding the guitar over his head, like, hey, I'm Pete Townsend. And he smashes it and he steps on it. He crushes it. Like, he utterly destroys this guitar. If he could have ground it into powder, he would have. It's so funny. And when Nick and Lindsay kind of exchange awkward laughs about it, and Nick goes up to Ken, I almost called him Ben, to Ken, and Ken says, this is the biggest favor I've ever done for you. This is the best thing I could have done. Like, trust me.
Okay. So now Millie's ready to have a beer. And Lindsay's not happy about it. Kim is also not happy about it. And to stop Millie from, going over to the dark side, she confesses.
Yeah.
And then Millie thinks it's a joke. Once Millie realizes it's not a joke, she asks, why you didn't tell me? To which Kim responds, we didn't know how to, thus revealing Lindsay knew about it. So then off Millie goes, and Lindsay follows her, and they don't go to the concert, but they hang out listening to Seals and Croft, and we missed what should have been a really good scene.
Yeah. There's a brief exchange. They talk about a picture that Lindsay has.
Yeah. But we miss the
meat of it.
Scene.
Yeah.
We get the epilogue after everything's okay. And then we cut to Bill. It's Friday night. We cut to Biff at his girlfriend's apartment because he's that guy. He's that guy. Of course he is.
I thought it was weird. I was like, he's just showing up randomly. Now that Bill knows, he's just moving in.
He's just like, he's got a full-time job with benefits, but he's dating a waitress, but she's got food in her fridge, so he's going to go to her place.
So
what's
weird.
Up? Of course
so
he is.
Weird.
Biff's watching basketball. Bill comes in, and Biff's like, did you want to watch something? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, Bill, did you want to watch something? And Bill's like, Dallas is on.
Yeah.
Bringing back Dallas. So they switch over to Dallas. Biff is not interested. Biff is upset. Like, it seems like it could go either way. But then Bill starts explaining Dallas to Biff.
Unprovoked.
Yeah. He starts sharing his interests with him.
Yeah.
And then keeping it so good, Biff starts asking questions when he gets engaged with it, except he's talking over the scene.
Yeah.
So Bill's like, shh, I'll just tell you at the commercial.
Yeah.
And it is
beautiful.
Beautiful. Just
squish. It's so good.
Tears. So good. But Paul Feig didn't want to bring that back. He wanted to do hippies with the Trump girl. Whatever. Cool, dude.
Oh, it was so good. So good. Like I'm, we joked about the tears. I'm almost crying thinking about it. It's so good.
So good.
So beautiful.
Okay. So next episode.
Yeah.
Next episode also has lots of feels in it.
So the next episode is called Noshing and Moshing. And again, we start out with Great Bill Scene.
Great Bill Scene. He's doing his version of a rerun dance from What's Happening.
Yeah.
And he tells
Chicks
the
love
other
it.
geeks.
Chicks love it.
Chicks love it. So that's
and trying to get them engaged. And Neil, you love to get the chicks.
Yeah.
You've been looking for a way to get the chicks. This is how you do it. Get up here. Come on.
But Neil has a better idea of how to get the chicks.
Ugh.
So he goes and gets a suitcase. What's in the suitcase?
Is this his bedroom, by the way? Because
Yes.
there's a Marx Brothers. Okay.
It's got to be his bedroom.
It's got to be his.
So he goes to get a suitcase. What's in the suitcase? Is it Gwyneth Paltrow's head? Is it Marcellus Wallace's soul? Nope. It's a ventriloquist dummy. I'm sorry. Figure. You call it a figure.
So this is okay. Let's just talk about this premise really quickly. It's funny to think that a teenage boy would think that this is the way to get chicks, like just like as like a side note. And I think what they did with it is fine, but there's no way that this is like a full like a premise, like an A plot point. Like in reality, this is not an A plot point.
You're not buying that Neil's best ideas come from a Catskills routine from 1956.
No.
Okay.
No. And I think you're placing it in time to yes.
We do have a previously on this one.
Yes, we do. Yes.
That does establish this is a follow-up to Neil's dad cheating on mom and that conflict and him finding out about it. So the episode will be about how Neil is sort of having mental anguish over this. So maybe the ventriloquist dummy is just his brain snapping.
And it's 3 episodes before this one is the one where he discovers that his dad is cheating.
In order?
Yeah,
wow.
No, in production order. Sorry.
Oh, in production order.
Yeah.
Okay, so they waited to finish that up.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, so that would be the most gracious read, but no, I think that they just thought it was funny.
Yeah. And it is. And what they do with it is fine, but just this idea that he has that it's going to get chicks. Like if it was like, this is my new hobby because, like I'm from a line of Jewish comedians, like that would be one thing, but this is very much like it's not a real thing. Nobody thinks that it's going to impress women. I don't know why.
No.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like they talk about the movie Magic, which has a killer dummy,
which I've never seen. Yeah.
Neither. I haven't either. But around the same era, there was an episode of The Incredible Hulk that had a dummy that it was Greatest American Hero had an episode with an evil dummy and it traumatized me as a kid. Oh, so
there's a Doctor Who episode too from the 70s.
And there's what's that 40s movie, Dead of Night, that Ealing anthology. Yeah. So I mean but in 1980 there was a zeitgeisty thing, but it wouldn't have been cool. But anyway.
Yeah. So
then we cut to the freaks at the mini mart or the liquor store. And they see some girl and she's a punk now. And Ken and Nick are making fun of her, but Daniel thinks she's still hot. But she dropped out of high school. And why would you drop out of high school and stay in town? Yeah. So there's that. Then we cut to dinner at Neil's, where we find out.
And the parents, I loved the scene at the very beginning when the parents are sitting across the table from Morty and they're just staring at Morty. And no, there's nobody else at the table. They're on one side, Morty's on the other, and they're just staring at this ventriloquist figure awkwardly. I thought that was hilarious, but continue.
So Neil has gotten a D in history. His
right.
grades are slipping, and they're talking to him about that. And he does not want to talk to them about that. And we also established that the dad is going to throw a party. And so they're also working on this party.
Yeah.
So they cut to the Weir house where Canada Joe does not want to go to the party because he thinks it's weird that dentists throw parties. It's funny. On an episode of the new All Creatures Great and Small, they throw an annual party for their patients. And somebody comments on, it's weird that you throw a party. And the guy's like, how else do you make sure they stay customers?
Yeah. Okay. But as much as Canada Joe is not looking forward to going to this party, it is, I think, the best episode for the Weir parents.
Yes, because they get shit-faced.
It's very funny.
It's very funny. But Lindsay doesn't want to go to the party. We also established.
Yeah.
So then we cut back to the geeks, and let's see. Neil informs the geeks that some of the reason for this coming up with the act is that he needs to, set up his future as a comedian because he can't depend on his parents.
Right.
Because dad's cheating on mom. And we also established his brother is coming home for a visit. So he's like, Neil says something about how the ventriloquist on Soap is funny. Soap's one of those shows that I know Billy Crystal was on it, but I've never seen it.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
Is it actually funny?
Yes. I think so. I've got bad taste. So, but I love it. It's worth watching a few episodes for the guy from Empty Nest and Blossom's dad. They're really good together. Sorry.
But then we cut to, and so Neil's going to tell his brother about the dad. Then we cut to Kim by herself looking distraught in school. And this happened in school. And it's like, she looks so distraught. It's like she's pissed off hearing the geeks talk. And
that's what it looked like.
Is there some history with Kim and the brother? This is interesting and fucked up. But then we cut to Daniel's home life, which we have never seen before. We have never had it really expressly
and
discussed.
Again, say what you want about James Franco. It makes the character, Daniel, much more sympathetic.
It's his best performance.
Absolutely.
The
character, you get to the heart of it. Whatever.
It's going to be so good. But the end is just verklempt. Okay. The situation is dad is
sick somehow.
Dad's sick somehow, and mom has to take care of him. There's a brother who can't be trusted to get dad's medication because he'll take it himself. Daniel wants to get to school because he doesn't want to be late to something. Mom's giving him shit about going to school, makes a joke about how he can fail again and be the oldest junior in Michigan. And to which he says, why don't I just drop out and bring home $2.50 an hour? And she's like, you should.
Yeah,
and
I wouldn't be opposed to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it ends with him agreeing to go get the medicine and be late to school. Gets to school. Turns out that Kim left her books in Daniel's car. She had an open book quiz. She failed the quiz because she didn't have her books.
They have a fight
and seem to break up. Yes. So then we cut to class with the geeks, which we have not actually seen that much of in the show, right?
No,
we don't see them in regular class often. Neil is talking back to his teacher. Neil has not turned in his report because the report is still in his head. So he's in trouble. He gets sent out. The beginning of this episode has this whole kids in trouble thing. So next is
He goes to Rosso's office. Or do we cut back to the freaks?
No. Yeah, we've got Lindsay. So and this is kind of, I think, probably fat phobic would be the thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
There's some 25-year-old guy who is playing a high school student and he's
tall, he's very heavy, and he's got a petite teenage girl slung over his shoulder.
And she wants to be put down, and he's saying, no, I'm not putting you down.
Yeah.
So Lindsay goes over to get him to put her down. Now, this guy's never been on the show before, never going to be on the show again.
I think he has. He's been in the background. He's been in gym class, I think.
I just thought he was another teacher. Sorry.
He does look much older.
So Lindsay intercedes, and he starts pushing back or something, and the teacher catches them, and they're both going to detention.
He catches Lindsay like punching him, full on punching this guy who's like twice the size of her, like height wise. He's height wise.
Right. So this is a kind of fucked up scene because it ends with the teacher saying, well, this girl could defend herself. She didn't need your help. And the girl doesn't say a word.
Lindsay isn't like, what the fuck are you talking about? Nobody questions the teacher at this moment. But the girl not saying anything, first of all, doesn't seem right, because she was shouting for help
in the
hallway before the teacher came out. So yeah, that was fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, the detention teacher's like the biggest fucking asshole teacher, and this show's had some asshole teachers. So then you get Rosso, and Rosso's sick. So my note on that, because we forgot to do our 3 things, but if I'd done my 3 things, it would have been Rosso's got Rona.
And I don't have 3 things. I just have Dave and a bunch of hearts around it, and my name with his last name.
Okay. Okay, Emily Krumholtz. Anyway, stop blushing. It's weird. Okay, moving on.
I'll turn my camera off. There we go.
The ladies and the Krumholtz. Good grief. Okay. So they're having Rosso's talking with Neil, and Rosso's got a good line about how, like, look, man, kids have been lying to me since before you were born. I know something's going on. And to which Neil's like, fine.
And he's not ready for it. Ready for it. And Neil just lays it out. Yep.
My dad's a womanizer. And then Rosso's got nothing to say. And I'm like, you should have something to say.
Yeah.
Dude. Like, if you're actually good at like something besides giving him a fucking Grateful Dead album, like do your job. Okay. So then we cut to Daniel at home, and he's going to start listening to some punk rock. So he can
impress this girl. Yeah.
So he can impress this girl. He gets home. His mom yells at him not to be noisy because dad's sleeping. So he starts listening to punk rock.
Black Flag.
And we cut to detention where Lindsay is doing her homework.
And here is a great scene where Lindsay stands up to that same fucking teacher that she didn't stand up to before. The other girl didn't stand up to before. It's a great scene for Lindsay. And she's so like, I'm doing my fucking homework. You're not going to fucking stop me.
There's no homework in here, Miss Weir. And she's like, so wait, you're quarantining the bad kids and not letting them do their schoolwork. So you're like trying to manufacture idiots.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, it is Michigan. That way they can go to jail and make license plates. I mean, for a private corporation or something, and then sell them back to the state. So yeah, that is sort of the system. So the only difference is it's white kids.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she gets a bunch more days of detention, which is not going to be relevant to the plot. Our next scene is Kim and Lindsay. And so Lindsay is talking about how she's in a school of idiots, and Kim is upset about how she seems to have broken up with Daniel. And Lindsay's like, well, that's a good thing, right? And she's like, I guess.
Yeah.
Which means this sort of should have been an actual recurring plot thing instead of them talking about it every once in a while. Because later when they drop the Daniel and Kim at the planetarium place he had gone there with another girl during a breakup, but the show only broke them up in the last episode and this episode.
Yeah.
And then sort of at the
they mention it.
Unclear.
They just mention it like, oh, they break up all the time and get back together.
Yes. Why do they get back together? We find out here. It's because they share trauma.
Yeah.
And it's fucking great. But that's not what the show did.
Yeah.
And I have a theory why, but I will save it till the end. So
okay.
Then we go to lunch with the geeks.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Where Neil is roasting Lindsay's bully with the dummy.
Yes.
And the math teacher saves him. And
everybody's laughing at them also. Like,
yes,
because Neil's got his dummy out. Everybody is
mortified at them.
Oh.
So once the teacher finds out that it's about the dummy, he's just like, are you a glutton for punishment?
I have that written down too. I thought that was so funny.
So it's not a dummy, of course, it's a figure.
Yeah.
But then Sam and Bill have a scene together where Bill is worried that the dummy is taking over Neil's personality. Have you seen the movie Magic?
Yeah.
What happens if he's like eventually like, hey, schmucko, go kill Bill?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Very, very funny little Martin Starr there.
And he also because they're having this conversation and Sam is trying to be sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, he's going through a rough time. His dad's, he whatever. And Bill's like, so just because his dad's cheating, he can be a jerk.
Yep.
Like
I have that written down as a fair jerk pass.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we cut to Daniel in the liquor store.
Oh, yeah.
And he's flirting with the punk girl. And it's a kind of funny scene because he's like, well, I'm a punker. And she's like, punkers don't call themselves punkers. Are you aware of that? And he's like, oh. But then she invites him to a club downtown, the Armpit. And I was also like, what downtown? Downtown Chippewa or Detroit?
Probably Detroit.
Okay.
Probably Detroit.
We don't really ever have them going into Detroit. Okay.
It's a presumably where they live, just based on what I see, is not a wealthy, but a upper middle class suburb. And I can't imagine there being a punk rock nightclub there. So
right next door to the Dad's Hardware shop.
Yeah.
Okay. So then where are they in the hallway? Yes, they're in the hallway because this is where hearts come into the episode finally. Bill and Sam, and then Neil shows up and says, where were you at lunch, man? Morty and I had the lunch ladies rolling. And
he pulls his dummy out of the locker and they're like, oh no. And Bill, what does the Bill say? Like, make it stop talking to me.
But then who arrives? Take it away.
Big Brother Barry, Dave Krumholtz, heart, no blushing. That's
do you want me to make you blush over Dave Krumholtz?
No,
I can totally do it.
No,
you want me to?
No,
okay.
No.
because I had forgotten that when we first met, Numbers was still on the air. And I confessed to watching Numbers to my new coworker that I watched this silly absurd CBS procedural. And I'm like, yeah, my wife likes David Krumholtz. And my new coworker's just like, he's dreamy. And I was just like, what the fuck? And then, I don't know. Were you the one who told me that he was hot in the Elf movie?
No, I've never seen Elf.
Okay, not Elf. It's Santa Claus.
I have never seen Santa Claus.
Okay, anyway. So yes.
But also, isn't Northern Exposure in Numbers? He's pretty cute too. Anyway, whatever.
Yes, he is. Whatever. So
I'm only watching shows with cute people in them now.
So's Judd Hirsch. So what did he say? Yeah. Okay. But yes, so Barry the brother, played by David Krumholtz, is visiting the school.
As you
do, a totally normal thing, which would probably be a felony now. And he is snuck into school and he's hanging out and he comes across Lindsay. So they first establish when he sees Sam and Bill,
He's being very charming.
Very charming.
You look great.
Sam the stud.
Yeah.
Bill getting huge. But then he sees Lindsay. And he's like, what is going on with these hot weirs? So
and Neil, you got to hang out at the Weir house more often.
So Lindsay is very impressed to see Barry as well. She's got the crummies too, or whatever they're called. And so, but then the math teacher's like, hey, stragglers, get to class. And Barry says, hey, shove it.
Fat ass. I think he calls him a fat ass, which is great.
So, except Barry has already graduated, so he can't do anything to him.
Yeah.
But then on his way, he tells Lindsay to make sure to come to that party. And teacher says, I hate it when they come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's also, it's established he's in college.
He's in college. Yes.
He refuses to tell Lindsay how wonderful college is because it'll make her so jealous.
At this point? Or
yes,
later?
I think it is at this point. Yeah.
Okay. So we cut to dinner at Neil's, and the parents are talking to Barry about college. Barry doesn't want to join a fraternity because he doesn't want to squeeze a meatball between his ass cheeks and walk across the room with it as part of the initiation, because if you drop it, you have to eat it. So mom is disgusted by this. Dad seems thrilled, which was like appropriate, but also just like, funny in a devastating, like, oh, this is just fucked way.
Also, that is the most tame thing I've ever heard about a fraternity.
Meatball in your crack is what they actually say. But then Dad asks how the women are treating Barry. And Barry says, I do all right, because he's David Krumholtz. He does all right. Stop. Look at you.
I'm not doing anything.
Uh-huh.
You just can't see my hands.
I can't.
Hand check.
Now you gotta leave it in.
Hand check.
Hand check. All right. Did you make sure to put down your towel before you watch this episode?
I did put a towel down. Yeah.
Okay. So, Dad tells Barry not to get tied down.
Yeah. Barry's like, I'm just playing the field.
And Mom makes a comment about how, because what's the last name?
Schreiber.
The Schreiber men are irresistible to the ladies, don't you know?
Yeah.
And Mom makes a comment about how she's got 3 all to herself.
Yep.
So then we cut to Daniel punking himself out, which is a probably very real thing a lot of young people did.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of young people did, and I imagine it's uncomfortable watching it dramatically displayed, but it's very sympathetic, and you're very sympathetic to him. But so then they cut to Neil and Barry having a conversation.
I had this written down. Okay. This is their tender moment. Neil is confessing to Barry that he knows that, or he suspects that their dad is cheating, and he wants to tell their mom. And Barry's like, yes, you're right. Dad is cheating. And says he's caught his dad before at a movie theater. Got a car for his birthday after that. And what do you want to tell mom for? So they get divorced and you only see dad on the weekends. So, you go to his crummy little bachelor's apartment. Like, why do you want to destroy your life and their lives? And so Neil is even more conflicted because his big brother didn't tell him, and has some pretty salient points in my mind. Like, yeah.
Okay. So then we cut to Ken and Nick getting ready to go.
This is also very funny.
Yes. And Ken says, punk girls hate themselves. This will really improve your chances, Nick. Nick punches Ken.
But it's like kind of belabored. It takes him a minute to get that he's being made fun of. It was so funny.
But then he agrees that it might actually help his chances.
Yeah.
And this is where we meet punk Daniel, who's got his hair in spikes and dyed purple.
Is it purple? It looked like
I don't know, man. I'm colorblind. Leave me alone. It was.
I'm sorry. It looked white to me.
QC. I don't know.
And in the scene where he's getting himself all punked up, there's a spray can of like not dye, but like paint for your hair, like for Halloween. Like I used to do that when I was a punk rocker for Halloween. I would get like a can of pink hair spray stuff. And that's what it looked like. I don't know. It looked gross. It looked disgusting. Whatever it was, it looked gross.
It was gross looking. Yeah. It did not look great. So
he's got eyeliner on too, which I noticed.
The Weir house.
Are they getting ready to go to the party?
They're getting ready for the party, and all of a sudden Lindsay comes out in a dress that I don't think Canada Joe would have been okay with, actually.
Also, why did she have that dress? Like, why was it just in her closet? I don't know. They don't seem to be churchgoers. I don't know. Whatever.
That would be presumably inappropriate.
It's a nicer dress than the dress she wore or the outfit she wore to prom or to homecoming.
Yeah. Because Barry's going to be there.
And heels.
Dress for the criminals, as one does. Okay. So she's going to go. They go to the party, and
they're met at the door by Dr. Oh, go ahead.
We also got to establish Canada Joe doesn't want to hear fucking Dr. Joe or dentist jokes. Yeah. He's been complaining about it all episode. So he doesn't want to hear dentist jokes. So he gets to the party.
Greeted by Dr. Schreiber at the door.
Greeted by Dr. Schreiber at the door. Give me some skin, Sammy.
He does this weird thing where mom comes in first and he sort of like grabs her by both arms, like upper arms, and it's like, oh, you look so great tonight. And it's sort of like smarmy and gross. And then he says something to Lindsay too. Like, it's a little weird. And then he does his Sammy Davis Jr. thing. And then he calls Mr. Weir Harry, which annoys him, which I thought was funny.
Then across the room, Lindsay sees Barry. But cut to the punk place where, okay, so the rest of the episode is going to be split between the punk place and the party. The punk place, I think we should just get through it real quick because nothing actually happens there. And then we can decide whether or not we'll save the resolution for that so we can tie it all together.
Yeah.
But the punk place, Ken is thrilled because he didn't get carded, so he thinks he's going to be able to get drunk. Daniel tracks down punk girl. They start dancing. Somebody kicks him in the head, so he goes to the bathroom.
He's bleeding.
Where some guy in the bathroom is talking about all the posers that are out there. Daniel gets very defensive about it. And he's like, man, I got, these fucking posers. I got cut, man. I'm real. I'm punk.
And the guy's like, I wasn't calling you a poser, dude. Chill out.
Right. Chill out. Nick is miserable somewhere during all this. Doesn't matter because it's Jason Segel. The nice thing about these two episodes is they knew just how to use Jason Segel. Yeah. Not very much. It is the butt of the joke. But Ken... Okay, so Daniel is going to get his nose pierced at one point.
And it's the stereotypical like ice cube and pin through the nose. Yeah.
And so it's a rite of passage, right? He's ready to do this. But then he sees his date with her girlfriend and realizes this is not for him. Pulls away at the last minute, gets it stuck in his nose, whatever. So they're going to leave, but they got to find Ken, who's actually having a fucking great time moshing. So that's kind of the end of that.
Yeah.
At the part, but it's interspersed with the party stuff. So the party at the Schweibers, we've got Canada Joe and Mom getting drunk. We've got Barry and Lindsay talking and having... It's not unproblematic because he is 20 and she is 16, but it is her only meet cute in this entire fucking show, in an 18-episode show.
And it is like, this again does not excuse the fact that he is an adult and she is a teenager, but it is like they are equals kind of intellectually. they're having the kind of conversation. And she even admits to him at some point, like, the friends that she's hanging out with, i.e. the freaks, do not stimulate her, do not challenge her, do not like, her life is not necessarily improved by being around them, which is counter to everything we've seen. I mean, she is experiencing a different side of life by hanging out with them, but it doesn't excuse the problematic element that he is an adult.
No, if she were a senior, this would have been great, kind of, but it's like, it also is going to end, like, because this whole plot with her and him is about how once you get to college, you get to decide who you are for yourself.
Yeah.
Right. He's got this great line about, he's like, I didn't go to college and say I was some nerd who got beat up every day. I was whoever I wanted to be, which happened to be a handsome, dashing Jew, right? Like, it's a very good scene with this, like, kind of like, it's a little weird because, you know.
It's a great scene, though.
They're not the same age.
Yeah.
My note on that was, want to take a walk, little girl?
When he said, hey, do you want to get out of here, go for a walk? I audibly to the TV said, yes. Yes, I do. Sorry.
Calm down.
I am.
Relax. Okay. So amidst all that, Neil has been having a bad night. He is hanging out with the geeks. Bill's like, hey man, let's watch some Fantasy Island. That'll give us something else to do. Instead, Neil is watching his dad pretend to be a loving,
husband. Caring husband. Yes.
So Neil goes for a walk where he sees his brother kissing his dream girl. Now, we forgot that earlier in the episode, Neil says something to Lindsay that she's like, don't say that kind of thing to me. Like, very, like,
he calls her my Lindsay or something.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah. And she's just like, ew, dude, stop that.
Yeah.
But he sees this and his response is, oh no. And unlike every other older brother and younger brother, the older brother, because it's a TV show, does not pursue the underage girl that he's got his arms around or whatever. Instead, he's very upset. He's very concerned that he upset his brother.
Yeah.
And realizing that this, you know, there's some repercussions to this there too. So Neil goes back home after seeing them kissing, and Dad ambushes him and says, "Get your dummy, man, put on a show." And he says, "It's a figure. It's a figure."
And he's upset that his dad is being a phony. He's upset that he's just caught Barry kissing his dream girl, and now he's expected to give a performance with his figure. And Dad insists, gets the crowd involved, gets the partygoers involved, and Neil has no choice but to get out the dummy, whose name Morty, and put on a show. And if you're familiar with ventriloquism acts, a lot of it is insult comedy, generally between the figure and the human controlling the figure. It's a double act, but this dummy takes it all out on the crowd for the most part, and then turns his attention to Dr. Schreiber himself, calling him a bad dentist. He makes that RAPE joke about, you know, I'd never let him put me under because I'd come out with no wisdom teeth, but also no virginity. And that's when the kibosh is put on this little.
This is
show.
After he has said, do you really need that dental surgery, or does your dentist just need to put an addition on his house?
Yeah. So he's digging in on Dad hard.
Canada Joe is drunk and loves all of this. This is, you know, this is his moment. This is the dentist jokes he wanted.
So he comes in. So Mr. Weir comes into the party, and he says to his wife, if I'm going to have to put up with dentist jokes all night, I'm going to need some anesthetic. And he does a little drinking motion with his hand. And from that point on, you never see him sober.
Nope.
He's a little disheveled. His hair's a little goofy, and he is laughing hysterically, even at the dentist jokes.
And Mom's drunk too, and like, it's really good. So yes, Neil and his dad have make a scene, get your hands off me, and Neil storms out. Dad's confused, which is unbelievable at this point, because Dad knows that he manipulated Sam about witnessing this and etc. So like
the teacher, like Rosso, even, they should be able, but he is a dad in the 80s. They should be able to recognize the warning signs. His grades are slipping. He's acting out. He's getting in trouble at school. They should be able to recognize that something is happening to their son more than just hormones.
Yes. Bill says to Sam, I told you that thing would take him over. Okay. Mom and Neil have a scene.
Yeah. Very
sweet scene where Mom reveals she knows that Dad is cheating on her. Which sort of echoes back a little bit to her first appearance, where you seem to, my fear with that episode was it was going to be the mom who's having an affair, because it was that kind of sort of shitty, that episode was kind of, sexist in that kind of way. But it also echoes back that Mom sort of is a little bit more cognizant of what's going on. And so, yes, they have this scene. The important thing is that we both love you very much, and we have the rest of our lives to figure out our problems, but we just need to get you and your brother through right now.
Yeah.
And then she ends the scene while they're hugging, tells him that Morty is funny. So it's her version of the weird mom telling Sam what a hunk he is or whatever.
Right. The other boys are just jealous.
So Lindsay and her parents are leaving now. She and Barry have a very bittersweet goodbye. Lindsay's got to drive because the parents are hammered. When they're leaving, there's like this long moment with Lindsay looking wistfully, like having this, this isn't my life forever. Pretty soon I'm going to get to choose who I am.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't be better that's better than how the fucking show ends for her. But whatever. Paul Feig, not very good. Just going to say it. Jake Kasdan directed this, and it was written by J. Elvis Weinstein. Is that his name?
Weinstein.
Good. No notes. Great job. Okay. So then we see Neil's mom watching the drunk dad, just like, wow, this is great. My life sucks. Which could have come back in the fucking finale. She leaves him in the finale for some reason. Who knows why? She's inspired, but okay. But then we cut to one of the show's best scenes ever. Daniel pulls up at Kim's. She sees him in his punk regalia, and they just embrace. She's got an abusive home life. He's got an abusive home life. They have been bonding over this whole time, and we've never gotten to see it. The show has never shown it to us. It has let us think that they are bullies. It has let us think the worst of these characters.
Yeah.
And it has never let us see them truly together as people.
Yeah.
And it finally does it, and it's beautiful.
It's wonderful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And so here is my take on why these 3 episodes didn't air.
Yes.
And I'll keep it short.
Okay.
NBC didn't want to show white people as white trash, shitty parents who would fuck up their kids. That's it. They just didn't want to humanize these characters because it meant saying that white trash. And I mean, I guess post JD Vance, maybe it was a good idea that they didn't air them, but still, like, I don't know.
I don't have an explanation for why they didn't air these episodes until it went on Fox Family. I don't have they were great episodes. These last 2 specifically were really great. Again, the Kim Kelly one is my friend. It humanized her. It very much humanized her.
So with that one, I was kind of like, I was more on board, but I still feel like
and the Bill episode, the one we just talked about, I mean, there's an element of that too, but it's not so like dysfunctional just because she's a single mom. Like, it's not white trash necessarily.
I wasn't really thinking about that.
But
no,
like,
okay,
there's legitimately no reason to not have aired that. It is brilliant piece of television, comedy and drama perfectly melded together. No reason. No reason.
Other than you knew Paul Feig was going to fuck up the finale, so why bother? I mean, so there you go. But yeah, so it's the other thing these episodes really showcases. They made a mistake on how they focused on Sam in particular.
Yeah.
Like, Sam could have fucking gone to military school in the second episode and the show would have been fine. Yeah. Right? Like, so that, but also how one of the things that you notice watching it is that Lindsay's friendship with the freaks is mostly in the regular air order about nothing. It's about her having a crush on Daniel. Then it's about her and Nick. Then it's about Nick stalking her. Then it's about her dating Nick out of pity. Then it's about the fallout from that. Then it's about nothing. She's not really in the episodes very much. Then it's about her becoming a deadhead. Like, that's about it. But with these other things and with the parents not being happy with the friends, which is also problematic because eventually, despite the fact that the show resolves that they are piece of shit Republicans, at some point, the parents do show empathy, sympathy, and understanding to the freaks. And it's sort of unbelievable that we had to work so far to get to that. Mm-hmm. Like, what if dad was a little bit Canada Joey, but what if mom always led with her heart, right? Yeah. Like,
and it didn't, and I think that she did, and I think that she would have more, except I think she was overpowered by her husband. The character was overpowered by the husband being so protective, let's say, of his kids. And so
controlling
and so vocal. I mean, he's loud. He's a loudmouth, and he's the drunk uncle at Thanksgiving who you dread having to talk to because he's going to talk about how much he loves Reagan. And
see, I would say that he's the one that you think you like until you find out that that's who he is. Like, yeah. He's the one who seems nice at the beginning, but then gets more disappointing as the more you talk to him. And let's not forget she can't get a microwave because then she'd have too much time not to cook for him or whatever. Yeah. So I mean, like that, it's hard to even remember that part of the show watching these two episodes, and it's kind of weird because it's like if you wanted to take the best of Freaks and Geeks, couldn't you basically take the pilot and these 3 unaired episodes? No, basically give you the best impression of the show and show it with the most potential. But yeah, I mean, if they actually have the cut scenes, if they have that footage somewhere, I mean, well, it's 2022, so fuck James Franco, fuck Judd Apatow, but not as much fuck Judd Apatow, but differently. So, it's kind of, I'm not sure it's worth the effort, but in some ways it seems very much like the rediscovery of, like, it shouldn't be about rediscovering this. It should be trying to find what gems are clearly out there for this show.
Yeah.
But it also shows you why it's important to secure your cast for however many episodes you need them, and to maybe shoot all your shows at once instead of weekly, like,
Yeah.
So, couple great episodes of television here.
Agreed. I'm glad we ended it on this one.
Yes.
And these last 2, actually, because I think they were very good. And I think that this last episode, the noshing and moshing, could have ended the series. I mean, Lindsay's kind of come to some conclusions about her friends, and she's talking about going to college.
Where was it supposed to air? How many before the end was this one?
This one was 15 of 18. So the next one after this was when Cindy breaks up with Todd and they go to the spin the bottle, the kiss party. That was the
and
next
then
one.
the Cindy's a Republican, and then the Grateful Dead episode. So yeah, if you'd stopped the series here, it would have been a lot fucking better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Good to know. So if you watch Freaks and Geeks, watch it in production order and just stop after episode 15, and you will have a much better experience.
Agreed. It was so good. These episodes were so good. My crush on Dave Krumholtz aside, just great writing. The music was much better. Again, I'm not a big 80s hardcore fan, but I'd rather listen to Black Flag than fucking Rush.
Yes. And yes. The punking out was much better than Nick's disco thing.
Yes, agreed.
Especially since the disco thing was like not.
Especially because the relationship, like he got into the disco thing because of Sarah, and that relationship was never explained. Right. It was never fleshed out. It was never, there was nothing. It was just nothing.
It was nothing. But the Who thing with Judd Apatow directing, it's very much when that episode he directed with the Maureen's episode with the Rockets, and I said he was doing his Wes Anderson. Yeah. So Judd Apatow and Who playing Wes Anderson with Martin Starr. Give me a movie. Give me a movie tomorrow. I want it.
I want Grown Up Bill. Yeah.
Grown Up Bill, Dayton. Grown Up Bill, the fucking science teacher of Dayton, the jock's mom. Give me that fucking movie. It can be 2 hours and 40 minutes. Whatever, Judd Apatow. Leslie Mann, bring her back.
Yeah.
Don't care. Give me it all. So I don't know. Just great.
Do we have an announcement for the next season?
Oh my God, do we have an announcement for the next season? Okay, so it was my pick, but Emily
you were just throwing ideas at me. So
yeah, and she's thrilled at the idea of this one. So for season 3, we will be watching Automan.
I'm very excited. Superheroes are huge these days.
Are not excited. You have no idea what you just got yourself into.
Well,
this is a show that I was 4 when I was watching it, and my parents are like, "That's too stupid for you to be watching. You're 4. It's going to break your brain." And watching just the opening credits and the 2-minute introduction to the series to let clue in the normies on the high concept, confirm this probably wouldn't break your brain if you watched all of it as a kid.
I'm very excited. It's 12 episodes.
13 with the pilot.
13 with the pilot. Okay.
So yes, we'll be back.
Oh, it's a longer one though. It's 50 minutes. Okay, cool.
Yes. Well, the pilot,
we'll get to that next time.
We'll get to that next time.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening.
Have a good night, everyone, I guess. Yes. Thank you for listening.